Hey guys, this is Lance here, Crypto Brothers Investigations of Oklahoma, and I'm just returning some comments. I feel like if I ask a question and you guys respond, it deserves at least an answer. So that's what I'm doing on from the last update. And so this is the tallied update results, and the results are in. I'm going full time, guys. So I crunched the numbers, and I originally said 500, and I think with people responding, not only with the comments on the YouTube comment section, but also from Facebook, on our Facebook group, email. Some of you emailed me, and when you look at all those, all in all, everything was said. I think there was about 580, somewhere in there, maybe 580, 590 yeses. There was probably a handful of no's, but I appreciate the no's. You were honest, and that's what I appreciate, so I'm responding to the no's as well. But I think we have enough to move forward here. My brother Bill and I are going to be working very hard behind the scenes, as well as my brother Lane and Wiley and Mike, our videographer. Sarah's helping out, which I appreciate her very much. She's kind of a silent worker behind the scenes, but she really helps out a lot. I'm excited. I'm excited that you trust us enough, and that we're just humbled that you would support us, and we're going to work very hard in making sure that you get good content. We're going to look at things from a different perspective. As you notice, if you follow us, our shows are a little bit different every time. That's because we're getting different personalities involved. Mike, our videographer, he's produced some shows. My brother Bill, he's done some different ones. And then, of course, I'm the classic kind of guy. I'm just straight there, put it out there. Many of you have said that you would support, of course, like I just said, the $7 a month membership. But some of you, and we didn't ask, said that you would do $10 a month, which I'm very honored and grateful. And then some of you said you couldn't do 7, but you'd do 3. And then some of you said you wouldn't do it at all, and that's okay. I'm going to try to still put like some free content on YouTube maybe once a month, but the majority of our work is going to be moved toward and given more content to our subscriber base, and they deserve it. And if you're paying for something, you deserve to get what you paid for. And so I hope to give you, what maintains any membership. Gym memberships are notorious, right? We got Christmas, and everybody gets that motivation, and they get a gym membership, and they get motivated the first month, and then it just kind of falls off. And some of you commented that was your concern for me, is that people may say yes, but then it's one thing to actually do it, and it's one thing then to maintain it. So I've tried to account for attrition that way, and I realize that that will happen. But my hopes is that by doing some things on our part, being very creative on our part, I don't look at us as competing with anybody. I know there's shows out there that do the same thing as we do, and they've been out there longer. Of course, I acknowledge that 100%. But I like to compete with me and how we can do things better. And not only on the computer, but getting out. That's what really matters. That's what you guys said you like and you want. You want more video in the field. And that's why I'm doing this full time. I can now have access to do that. So some of you also were concerned about, hey Lance, don't quit your day job. My gosh, what are you doing? What are you doing? This is not something that I'm just jumping into blindly. I've been seriously putting a lot of thought, many hours of thought into this for probably about a year, for as long as we've had the show. And I'm not going into it without a plan. There has been some planned disruptions over the summer that was a bit unnerving and concerning, but this move is not one that I'm just blindly going into. Brother Bill is also going to be spending some time at helping me behind the scenes. So I think in cooperation with my brothers, and I have some very good people also that's got my back across the country. They're kind of helping pitch in, do some things behind the scenes. I think as a team, I think we can do quite well. And I'm looking forward into putting more interesting content out for you guys. And if I can deliver more to you than what you expected, I mean, it works both ways, right? I've got to deliver the content more than what you expect, and then you'll maintain your membership. It's quite simple. After being self-employed for 21 years, no one promised me anything when I got started in healthcare. You just have to make it happen. You have to have some dedication. You have to put in the time. You have to work really hard. You have to encounter all kinds of personalities and be able to work with those personalities. And but bottom line, you got to deliver the goods, and that's what I intend to do. We've been in this now a while. Again, we've had some stumbling blocks, but we want to stay in it and for the long haul for you guys. And I think we can. I know we can. In conjunction with that, I'm going to have a contest for our $7 and $10 members. And this is going to be a contest that if you can start your membership this November, so you'll be a member in November, December, January, February, March, April, May, June, July. So for 9 months, if you can maintain your membership for 9 months, if you miss a month, it's not going to count. You've got to maintain it for 9 months. At the end of 9 months, we're going to choose 3 people. And these 3 people are going to have an all-expense paid adventure getaway with the Cryptid Brothers at one of our favorite locations down in southeast Oklahoma. And you just have to get your way to Tulsa. You're going to have to fly or drive. Now that's at your expense. You just got to get here. From here, we'll take you, and it's on our dime. We'll take you to the location. We're going to have a cabin. We'll feed you. We'll put you up. We're going to investigate. We're going to have some home-cooked meals. We're going to have some campfire stories. We have some people come in. And these aren't just, we're going to have the real deal. We're going to have people in the local area tell what's happened, what they've seen. I'm going to try to get a special guest for you. He's never been before any people. And I'm going to try to swing it where he can come and talk to you guys. And I think you'll be surprised. If I can get him, I think you guys will be in awe. So we've got some other cool things lined up. I'll go through the details as we go along, but I want to do that for you guys. And we're going to go out in remote areas and do some calling. You're going to be our videographer for the evening. And all of the filming that we do is going to be a show. So you're going to be in the show. And so we're just going to make it an episode, maybe a couple of episodes, or maybe a 3-hour-long episode. And we're going to do some calling. We're going to show you how to forecast, how to investigate these areas. We're just going to make a great weekend. It's a 4-day, 3-night weekend. So we'll see you on Thursday. You'll stay Thursday night, Friday all day, Saturday all day, and we'll get up early Sunday and head back to Tulsa at that time. So it's going to be a really cool getaway. My brother Bill, it was his idea, and it was a great idea. And so we're going to go with it. So we'll let people know next July of 2019. Getaway adventure with us is going to be in October. So anyway, that's the good news. I'm going full time. I've discussed this with my wife, and I just wanted to make sure that it was sound with her. And this is new territory for me. I'm an old guy. It's starting a podcast. But I'm not afraid to try anything. I'm not afraid to pursue something and keep going after it until it happens. And I think a lot of that just has to do with being self-employed for 21 years. I've got brothers, and we can kind of pull and draw off each other. And I've got a great collection of friends out there, many of you, that will give your insight. But now that I have the time that you have indicated you'll give me, so I'm just kind of going full steam ahead into uncharted territory. But we're really excited that you guys commented and that we reached the 500 mark, and we're just going to go full steam from there. We will also, when my brother Bill gets through with the website, he's going to put on a cryptid store that'll have some of our products. You've been wanting shirts, and some of you requested posters, and we're going to have some Wiley Dave things on there, equipment. And so we're going to have some of that for you on there. There's some really cool things with Wiley Dave you'll like. And so I'm going to put on a story. One of the most bizarre encounters I have heard, he actually didn't contact me directly. His son did. His son said, he called me and he said, "Hey, Lance, you got to call my dad. And I said, okay. He says, no, you understand. You got to call my dad. He had something happen to him back in the 70s. I think it was the 70s in eastern Texas a long time ago that you just got to talk to him. And I said, okay, well, I'm just kind of calling out of the blue. He says, well, no, tell him his son, such and such, told him to talk to you. So I called this gentleman out of the blue, and I said, hey, my name is Lance Hightower. I got this podcast show. We talk about what people encounter. You can follow us. You can get online to verify who I am. And he says, okay, well, really hesitant, kind of hung up. And then he called me back. I think we texted. Yeah, we text. And he says, okay, when are you going to be available? So he called me back, and we chatted for a little bit. And then he opened up to tell me this. So he was kind of reluctant on telling me this. If it wasn't through his son contacting, and I asked the son if he can contact his dad to tell him that we've got this show. So the son heard the show first, and then told his dad, tell the story. So I think you're going to find this as one of the most bizarre encounters I've heard, and it'll definitely be one of the more bizarre encounters we've had. So I want you to enjoy. Thank you so much. I'm looking forward to this, and I'll leave more details as we go along, when the website's going to be up, when the Patreon account is up, and I'll let you know. I'll stay in contact with you a lot more now. Become a member to our Facebook group, which is Dogman Sasquatch Encounters, and that way we'll let you guys know first on a lot of that. Otherwise, follow our Twitter. It's cryptid at cryptidof, O-F, at cryptidof. And then we'll just keep you posted when everything is live and ready to go. So until next time, enjoy this episode. This is Lance Hightower, being very grateful for your subscriber base and your memberships. And we look forward in producing some great shows for you guys. We got some great ideas. And so I'm very blessed and honored that you guys would follow us and trust us enough to do that. Take care and enjoy the episode.
Oh, I could give you a little bit about it. I'm surprised that I start watching some of this stuff on YouTube, and that's how I got in a conversation with my boys about it. What happened to me, I never discussed it, 35, 40 years now, since it's been since 78. And I heard this because I didn't want to tell nobody because they would think I was crazy.
Oh, we understand there. I can't blame you one bit, sir. I mean, this is a subject matter that people just kind of keep locked away forever. Typically, they just tell some close family, and that's about as far as it goes. So we understand.
Well, I'll tell you a little bit about it. What had happened to me, I was 24 years old at the time, and I'm originally from the East Coast, and I wound up working in Houston. And what had happened was, it was a girl that worked out. We did refinery work, and she had got hired on, and then the boss had told me to put her on a crew, whatnot. So we did that. Well, evidently, he was trying to keep her for a side. I'm just trying to give you how I got involved in this wood stuff, okay?
Sure, take your time. Absolutely. Please, go ahead.
All right. So there's a town called I tried to help her out. I let her stay with me for a month to try to find a job, blah, blah, blah. And what had happened was, she had told me she lived in Jasper, Texas. I didn't even know where the hell Jasper, Texas. Now, don't forget, I'm from the East Coast. And I came in Houston in 1975, 76. So now we're construction, so everything's downtown, you know what I mean, and the refineries.
Yes.
I don't know nothing about the woods in Texas. So she said she lived in a place called Jasper, Texas. I said, yeah, and could I give her a ride back home? She'll try to make it back home. I said, sure, I give her a ride. I had well, I want to tell you this. I'm going to tell you something. This really, wow. Well, what happened was, we're en route, and I take her to Jasper, Texas. Well, we go through a town called Woodville, and it looks like a big, huge forest. Now, I've never been there in my life. This is near October. I thought it near Halloween because it was full moon, and all it was like we went through through a place there with all the woods there, and just the roadway was a single highway, you know what I mean? One lane going north and south, you know?
Yes.
And so take her up there, and she tried to talk me. Hey, my parents know. I'll never forget this. My parents know you're bringing me home. Why don't you sleep in the living room and get a good start in the morning? I said to her, I said, nah, I got to get back because the 12 o'clock shift is going on at midnight, so I need to get back and get my shit together. Okay, she goes, Rick, I want to tell you something. You may see some things out here, but it's not your imagination. And I didn't pay no mind to it because I figured she was trying to talk me into staying that night. You know what I mean? Try to scare me into these weird things or whatever. She didn't elaborate.
Mm-hmm.
Well, evidently she knew the woods over there because I didn't. So I'm in, I go home, and what happened was I'm headed back, and I'm in Woodville, Texas. I come up over it. Well, to my left, it looked like a sawmill. There was a building with lights on, and next to it looked like a sawmill with a light over the sawmill. You know what I mean? This is about 2:30 in the morning.
Okay.
I go over the rise, the hill. I'm going to tell you something. I got a dually, a Dodge, a 76 Dodge dually, 1-ton truck. I come up over the hill, and what do I hit? I hit something that spun my truck a 180. I was going southbound. After I hit this thing, I was facing northbound.
Wow.
Spun me around completely. Now, the driver's side, the fender and all that is all crunched in. Now, my truck won't start because the battery had grounded off against the metal, you know, of hitting this thing.
Oh, right.
Now, I got a glance, and I couldn't believe what I saw. I couldn't believe it. I said, no, man, I must be tired. Well, now I'm worried about the ridge. Now, there's no traffic on this road. There's none whatsoever. You're out in the wilderness here. So what happens is I roll the truck because I'm afraid if anybody else come over the hill, they're going to collide into my truck because I'm in the middle of the street there. So I'm able to roll my truck to the shoulder of the road that's facing northbound again because I was going southbound. So what happened was I turned around and I hear something crying, screaming. It's about 20 feet away from me after I rolled the truck. And I thought it was somebody around because it was near Halloween with a costume. So I'm cursing at this son of a bitch and telling him, you stupid motherfucker, what you doing out in the road? And I walk up closer. Man, is what they say is Bigfoot. They're for real. This one was crippled up because when I hit her, I was doing about 55, 60 miles an hour. And when I hit this, was like I hit a rock, a boulder, and just spun me around. I had seen the corner of my eye, it fly or run to the left side, you know, on a northbound side, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So when I told you I had to back up my truck because I had no power, so I didn't want nobody to crash into. So I got it to this shoulder of the road, and I walk up to this thing. This thing put its hand out to help me.
What?
Yes. She was laying up on the guardrail. It was a woman, too. It was a girl.
Oh, my gosh.
And so I ran to it. Now, I'm thinking it's somebody screwing around. It's near Halloween. I didn't have no idea these things. I didn't even hear Bigfoot. You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
I didn't
right.
know what I was looking at.
Sure.
And when it was crying, I'm going to tell you some strange thing. It was crying. It was up against the guardrail. Well, piece of my grill on the Dodge was stuck in her thigh. Okay? So she's trying to pull it, but the grill, one end, it went in, and then the other end, it was like a piece of metal, so you couldn't pull it through. You had to pull it the opposite way. You see what I'm saying?
Oh, yes, yes.
You trying to pull it, and then no. And I pulled that's right, put a tourniquet on her, took my belt off, put the stick on there, put a tourniquet on her to stop the bleeding. And I tried to explain to her it was going to hurt by making motions like when I pulled. You know what I'm saying? I don't know sign language, but I'm trying to tell this
exactly
that, you know. So I pull it out. I'll be a son of a bitch. Something comes behind me. I guess it was the husband or whatnot. She put her hand on my head and looked at the one behind me and shook her head no. I think he was going to do some damage to me.
Oh, my gosh.
And I'll tell you what, the size of the hand, I'll never forget. You know what the first baseman's glove?
Yes, sir. I sure do.
You know the size of that, right?
Yes, sir.
Well, my head was like a tennis ball in her hand.
Oh.
I mean, that's how big her hand was. I put it over my head.
Oh, my
So,
gosh.
I'm Catholic, so I wear the gold chain, and I've got, at the time, the crucifix and a couple other chains. And she was admiring the crucifix, and she held it, she took it from my neck, holding it in her hand, and pointed up now, Galaka. I said, no, Jesus Christ. And she pointed Galaka. And I don't know if she was pointing at the full moon, or they know about God. I don't know, but she was familiar. And in other words, that thing, I had two chains, a 20-inch and a 22-inch. Winding up putting those two together, and what you want to call the neck, she didn't have hardly any neck to put over her head for that to hang on her. She wanted it. So I'm scared now because I don't know what kind of creatures that, I'd give her anything she wants. You know what I mean?
Oh, right.
So who comes? A 3-footer. And it was funny. The baby come about 3 foot 40 inches. This one here shoved me because I guess I did damage to his mom. It was funny the way I took it. And he did it again, and the big one behind me, the husband, whatever you want to call it, he pushed that thing away, stopped from pushing me, and he rolled down the hill. It was comical. It was funny, you know what I mean? Like you see on TV,
Right.
And then I tried to explain her hip. Her hip was so pushed out. I tried to explain to him that, and I go, the old-fashioned cable guardrails?
Yes, I do. It's been a while, but I do.
Yeah, do you know what I'm talking about, those guardrails?
Mm-hmm.
The cable type.
Right.
Well, she was leaning up on that, and that's when I showed them she's going to have to hold on to the cable. Got to pull her feet because that hip, I must have did some severe damage on her because the way my truck was, anyway, the way the truck was damaged too, I said, man, I'm surprised she's still living, you know what I mean? Now, she was about, I don't know, 7 foot. But I know the male, everybody 8 foot, and then the little one, maybe 3 foot, 4 foot between there. You know what I mean? And what had happened was, after the show to straighten it out, the husband or the mate, whatever you want to call him, he understood. He had her hold the guardrail. And it's funny. The baby held the mom's hands on the cable. And when he yanked, he pulled so hard to straighten out the hip. Do you follow what I'm saying? Pulling at the feet?
Yes, I do.
And the little one, I can laugh to this day. He was holding on too tight. He rolled over, flew over the mother, and rolled down on the ground. I mean, I laughed my ass off. That was funny. That was funny right there, I'm laughing about it now.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And you know what? Those things, maybe the only thing I could say is that my whole nose, once that episode was done, they were going back through the woods there. My truck, I had got the hood open, and part of the fender was touching the tire. So I had a pry bar. I'm in construction, so I had what they call a wrecking bar, pry bar. And I had pulled the fender away from the tire for me to get to Houston. I got about 2.5, 3 hour ride. You know what I mean? Crippled up with my truck.
Mm-hmm.
Well, now I got blood all over my truck. I get the hood. How am I going to explain it? So I'm going to go to the Spanish guy that I know in Houston to do the body work to fix my truck. This was Monday morning. He said, Rick, what? I said, what? He said, man, there's blood all over the truck. I said, yeah. He said, man, I got to turn this in. I said, what do you mean turn it in? How do I know if you didn't hit somebody? I got to turn it in by law. I said, are you kidding me? So we were in the Houston city limits, so they called the Houston city police, right? So he says, man, before I called him, you didn't hit nobody. I said, no. Man, I said, I just hit something out in the road. I didn't even tell him what I hit.
Right, exactly.
I mean, so come to find out, and I didn't know that. Come to find out, the Houston police took sample of the blood off the hood, and I didn't know that when you could hit some type of animal or anything, you know, with my front tire and the rim, there was hair that got wrapped, believe it or not, where the tire meets the rim, you know, when you inflate it.
Mm-hmm.
There was hair there. So the Houston police had called me at the office. I had to go to them and talk to them and tell them. I said, well, I don't know. I hit some animal, maybe a bear or something. They said to me, no, you hit something, but they didn't know what it was. But the hair, I said, maybe a deer. That's what I used for it. Maybe I hit a deer. That was not no deer hair, Rick. I said, what deer hair? Where did you find that? And they told me they found that right in between the rim and the tire, the rubber of the tire. See, I didn't know that. So to this day, I never admit to them what I hit. Then I went about my life after that. There was no big deal after that. You know, once it happened, because to this day, it's so freaking unbelievable. You know what I mean? It's a thing in life, man. I don't know what to tell you. But they were not to me. They was, you know, I hear how they're supposed to be vicious and all that. Not the ones in Woodville, Texas. I'll never forget as long as I live. First time and last time. Never went back there after that incident. Never.
And how old were you at the time again?
24 years old, 1978. I'm 64 now.
Oh, that's incredible. Incredible. Can I ask a couple questions if you don't mind?
Yeah.
And I know you've probably had time to ponder this event a million times in your head. Let's go back a little bit about when you heard the screaming. You were pushing your truck off the side, kind of in the. You were
yeah,
going,
a stick shift, so I put it neutral. And don't forget, I told you I was coming up over a crown of a hill.
Yeah.
So I had the gravity of the hill to help me push it alongside the highway there, the shoulder of the road.
Right. And you were spun 180. And when you heard that, when you heard the sound, you were kind of like cursing, like, who in the hell's going to be out here? And you saw her hand was lit. How light was it outside? Did you have a flashlight on her?
The moonlight, I didn't need a flashlight, that's for sure.
Oh, so you
I knew what I was looking at. When I walked at it, I knew what I was looking at, the face and everything. You know, I tell you the skin, because she had tears coming. That's right, I forgot that part. She had tears coming. They were the size, I don't know, a 50-cent piece, a quarter, somewhere around there. The tears, I wiped her tears off her face and told her it was going to be okay.
Really?
In the face, yeah. In the face, what the hell, the kind of dog? I could tell you exactly the way that the face put me in mind of a little. I got one of them too, and I can't even remember the name. A pug. You know what a pug is?
Yes.
Yeah. You know how the face is pushed in and the skin like that? The skin was like that on the face.
Interesting. So, I mean, obviously she was calling out for your help if she was reaching out, and she was allowing you to help, obviously.
Yeah.
And
yeah, of course. Hey, 55 miles an hour. I'm telling you, when I hit this thing, it spun me a 180. I'm facing going back north.
Good night. That would have killed a human being.
Yes. Yes.
I've seen cattle.
Let me tell you something. I'm a type of guy. I never did drugs in my life, never tried drugs in my life. If I did anything, I drank a little bit, but when it came to the drug scene, not me. That wasn't me. So I was straight as an arrow. You know what I mean? Never did no drugs or anything, you know?
Exactly, yes. Wow.
Never in my life. Never in my life. No.
That's incredible. So when you were helping her, you heard steps coming quickly kind of behind you, and that's when she put...
that's about like 5 minutes. Yeah, that would be about 5 or 8 minutes behind the actually crash. When I went to her, it's about 5 or 8 minutes after the big one came.
So
I don't know if he outflanked me come from there. I don't know if they were trying to make across the street. He was ahead. I couldn't tell you. I don't know. They just come out of nowhere, like from behind me on the right side of me, which would be the south side of the highway. The north side going up the hill. He came on that side because I'm facing her against the guardrails there, you see.
Oh, yes, I do. I see now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so yeah, at a minute there, I couldn't believe. I thought it was a joke. And I thought it was somebody, because I saw that sawmill type house there. So I thought it was somebody monkeying around in a monkey suit at first. You know what I mean? That first glance, I said, no, I can't believe what I just hit. That's before I seen her on the side of the road. I saw the face. And I think with the high beams, the low beams, whatever, the beams of the truck, I think froze her. You know what I mean?
Oh, that's possible. That's real possible.
Like a deer? Yeah.
Yep. It was an unfortunate moment of all the moments out in the middle of nowhere, and you hit her, and that's incredible because
when I made it, I had a long ride to Houston. Then I thought about what Mary told me, that Rick, there's things out here you may see, but they're real. Then it dawned on me after that, you know, because my mind was going 100 miles an hour on the way to Houston. How am I going to explain this?
Exactly. So I'm sure she and her family knew about these creatures. Who knows for how long?
Yeah, someplace up Jasper, Texas, where I took her, and it was at night. I mean, I'm telling you, we took that main road, and, you know, it was like going through a forest. I didn't even know. Houston's so flat and bare, I didn't even know that part of Texas had hills and beautiful trees. You know what I mean? I had no clue.
Yeah, it's really thick down there. It really is when you get down in those smaller towns.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I mean, it's like the jungle, literally.
Yeah. This was, I tell you what, it's not, I think in a way, I'm not a real religious guy, but I was blessed that what happened to me. And I think by leaving, going to her when she had her hand out to help her, and when the big one came, she put her hand on my head and shook her head no. I really think the big one, he was pissed, you know, what happened to her.
Oh, I'm sure he was. Absolutely.
Let me tell you something. When he picked her up and walked in the woods, he picked her up like she was nothing.
That's what I was going to ask, how they left back out into the woods.
Well, don't forget, we're already on that side. I guess that's the route. See, I'm going southbound, so they would be going east, I guess, because I always, when I drive, I always like to take near the line. You know, the line on the road there, the center of the road. I favor that when I drive.
Okay.
When I hit her, which was the driver's side, when I hit her, that's where I spun and did exactly a 190. I couldn't believe it. It was like I hit a freaking boulder. To spun me, and I saw her with the headlights go to the left of me, which would be the east. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
It was southbound. Mm-hmm.
Oh.
And then when I rolled the truck out and got out of the truck, that's when I seen this thing laying on the road there up on the guardrail, and with the piece of my grill in the leg. Oh, the little one, when I put the tourniquet and whatnot, I went to my truck. They allowed me to go to the truck. I was a general superintendent for doing refinery work. So in the trucks, you got to keep the medical kits and all that. I went ahead and got the medical kit to put a bandage. The little one brought me moss to pack the wound.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Wow. That is incredible.
No, they ain't stupid. And you know, when I've been starting to listen to these things on YouTube, you know, I just got into that. I don't know nothing about computers or anything. And how I hear different stories. Some are vicious. They snap your neck. They twist your neck off and all kinds of crazy stuff like that. You know what? Bottom line, just like you and I, you show respect, you get respect.
You know, I'm starting to believe that more and more and more with all the encounters that we've heard and people that I've talked to, my brothers and I. You show aggression, you'll get aggression. You show kind of a common courtesy of, keeping a distance, and they'll keep their distance, and they'll go about their way, and you go about your way.
Yeah, I'm telling you, because, you know, every time I hear a negative thing about them, I'd be the first one to say you're wrong. From my experience, you know, if you don't mess with them or try to shoot them or try to hurt them, of course. You know what I mean? You're going to defend. We have that animalistic in us. You come after me, I'm going to come after you. You know that. You're going to defend yourself. You're the same way.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So could you tell me, so when the husband came, or when the male came over, and you've got the little one right there, and she was looking at your necklaces, what did you give them to her? What did she do?
Yes. I told you what happened. She saw the crucifix, Galaka, and she pointed up to the sky. So I don't know if she was pointing to the moon or to the sky. I'm talking about the female did that. So, and she kept on looking at it. I had 3 chains. One was a 22-inch, one was a 20-inch, and then I think the other one was 24-inch. Okay, I had 3 chains. At that time, that was the style, you know what I mean? The disco and all that shit, if you remember in the 70s. So, she kept on looking at it. I had to put a 22-inch and a 20-inch together, and I put it over her head for her to wear it. And she was so thrilled to have that. And of course I let him keep it. Are you kidding me?
Right, exactly.
I wasn't going to fight over it, that's for sure. If you want it, you could have it. But she identified it. Galacta.
That's
I don't know
extremely fascinating. I've never heard of that in my life. That is amazing. Kalaka. So it had a crucifix on the chains. It had a crucifix, and what was the other one? Was it just a chain, or was there something else?
Yeah, it was a chain with the Italian horn on it, and then I had a blank chain that didn't have nothing. The 24-inch.
Wow, that is incredible.
No, and looked at the crucifix like she could identify that. That's the interpretation I got. I think, everybody want to say they come from the spaceships and all that. No, I think, I'm not real religious, but I think God made them. She identified what that was. She knew what that was. And pointed up to the sky, whatever that's supposed to mean. I don't know what universe or whatnot. A lot of people think they come from UFOs and all that.
Right, exactly. I've heard the same thing.
Yeah, I think they're part of God's creation.
So this
I only could tell you what happened to me. You know what I mean? And boy, at 24 years old, at that time, and I had a good job. I wouldn't tell nobody. I was general superintendent in charge of 3 refineries, building them down in Baytown. I wasn't about to say a peep about it, you know what I mean? Except, it must have been a deer or a bear, you know what I mean? I don't even know if there's bears in East Texas. I couldn't tell you. I don't know. I'm not a woods guy. That's the whole irony of this. You wouldn't catch me going to woods, and now I live in Georgia, and I live 30 miles outside of Georgia, in a little town called Dallas, Georgia, and they claim there's Bigfoots out here, but never been bothered. But if I was to have another one, I know exactly how to react to them. Don't be scared. Show kindness.
Well, I'm extremely impressed with your disposition when you started realizing that this wasn't a person in a Halloween outfit, that this was a real creature. And
Right.
It sounded like you remained really calm, and it sounded like you just went to work on helping her with this piece of your grill stuck in her leg.
Yeah. What else was it? Hey, if I saw a dog, if I hit a dog on the side of the street, I would stop, and if it wouldn't bite me, pick it up and take it to a veterinarian. I mean, it's an animal. It's a living thing. You know what I mean? I wouldn't just go by but I got caught blindsided. First, I thought it was a human being, and then when I realized what it was, I didn't run. No, I was already committed. That thing was hurt.
Yeah. Well, it's just that, a dog and animals that are in the typical indigenous to an area, that's, we kind of expect that, deer and dogs and things. But with a creature like this that that most people say in general that's not supposed to exist, and they make fun of people that even remotely talk about these creatures, Bigfoot creatures existing,
You know what? That's their ignorance. That's all I could tell you. People could make fun, Jack. I don't believe it until I see it. Well, friend, anybody that does that, when you have an encounter, then you tell me how you're going to act. I didn't have a choice of the matter. She was hurt, and then when the husband or the mate came, the big one, and he's standing over me and pissed that she's hurt and that I'm the one who done it, you know what I mean? They're not stupid thing. Man, I was committed.
Wow. So it sounds like you possibly made a good friend.
Yeah, and the irony of the whole thing, I never went back there. Never. The only reason why I went up there was to take that girl home.
Did you ever, so you never spoke with her again?
No, but I knew exactly what she meant. After that, it dawned on me on the way, I'm crippling down. I'm trying to get to Houston, 45 miles an hour, one headlight, and worried about my radiator leaking or the hoses. I had to check that out on the side of the road before I go, because there was nothing out in those woods. Nothing. No, nothing. I didn't want to be stranded out there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So when the police kind of asked you some questions, did they keep digging, or once you said I must have hit a bear or a deer, and they just kind of left it alone at that point in time?
They said it was okay, because that's how I found out that they took the samples of the blood on the hood of the truck, and then the hair. Like I told you, I didn't even know hair collects around the rim and the tire. And that their report was, Rick, you hit some kind of animal. We just don't know what it is, but it wasn't human. and left it at that. Don't forget, back in the 70s, I don't think they had the technology like we got today.
Right. That's true. That's very true. They could just do a very probably generic analysis at that time and look at the hair samples with a data bank, but outside of that, they probably wanted to leave it alone as well.
Can you imagine if I told what happened out there? They would look at me like I was crazy or I was drugged up. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, that have probably led into a litany of more questions and intense medical background and a whole host of other in-depth investigation.
Yeah, and all I tried to do was a gesture to give a girl a ride home because she couldn't make it there down in Houston, you know.
Wow. So with this, and you said it before, in looking back, what, when people talk about these encounters, like you said, how do you view this whole encounter that you had? I mean, the experience and everything.
I think my situation, other than a messed up truck, which I had insurance, so that was no big deal, right? I think I had a thing very, very few people would have, and I think I'm a pretty lucky guy to know for a fact that it is true. They are true animals. Mm-hmm. Do I resent them? No. I think there's a lot more of them, and I think they're a lot intelligent. I swear to God, when I came over that hill, I think she froze from the headlights because she didn't move. Like she froze, like those lights, you know what I'm saying? Hypnotized her, you know?
Right. It shouldn't have been an issue to blaze off that road, but maybe you're right. That probably is what happened.
Yeah, you see, my truck was stock, so it didn't have loud mufflers, no nothing, you know, regular stock truck. Maybe she heard it, maybe she didn't, or I just came over that hill so quick, she froze. To me, that's what it looked like. She froze when we hit. I never had a chance to put the brakes on.
Well, that impact is incredible. I used to commute a lot on Oklahoma roads out in the, grass prairie lands and woods. Mm-hmm. And I can tell you, I've seen a couple of instances where a couple of trucks have traveling highway speeds have hit a cow that got loose.
Uh-huh.
And the cow is dead, and it's a big animal. And the truck is completely... kind of like you're describing your truck. If it's totaled, but the cow is we're talking 1,500, 2,000, 1 ton animal, and it's off in the ditch dead. So for her to still be living and getting that's incredible.
The hip was pushed out of whack. The hip, and that's when I showed them to pull her to try to say, what else can you do? You know what I mean? What am I going to do? Take them to the veterinarian? You know what I mean?
All right. So, but they understood that you were probably doing some hand motions.
Yeah. Yes. Yes, they're not stupid things. Are you kidding me? Far from stupid. Not ignorant at all. Very, very catch on real quick. What amazed me is when she pointed up to the sky, Galacta, talking about the crucifix. I don't know if she was telling me from the moon or from up in the air, like we believe God's up in the air. I don't know. That astounded me more than anything else, that she identified that crucifix.
Were they making any other sounds during the time beside her pointing up at the moon, going Kalaka, Kalaka? Or did they make any, besides her crying and you seeing the tears, did he... The little one was making noise, but I couldn't make out. I tell you what, if I didn't, I like to listen to, the Indian tribals, the dances, they make disc and they have that music and stuff like that. Yeah, like at a powwow.
Yeah. Now, to me, The only way I could relate, the way they talk, was like that. No, what breed of Indian, don't ask me. But I could relate the language between them was like tribal. I don't know how else to compare it, because it was like the sounds were like some of the tribal dances and stuff, you know, that they talk, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So the little one was running around. Could you tell?
The little one at first, when I put the tourniquet on the mother to stop the bleeding, he was doing flips. He was standing next to his mother, and he kept on doing flips like a little chimpanzee would do. He was doing flips, so I took it that he was nervous or something. And the father would fucking nudge him, and he'd go rolling. That was the funniest thing, because like the father didn't approve what he was doing. In other words, act right. You know what I mean? That's the way I took it. You know, I don't know how I didn't take it like that then, because I didn't know what the hell was going on. That I got, you know, one creature I'm helping and two others. I maybe if I knew there was two others, maybe I would have took off. I don't know. But at the moment, there was nobody else there, and she asked and cried and had her hand out like to help me. That's the only thing I could tell you. That's the only reason why I went there. Because sometimes, you know, a wounded animal, you know, like we talk about a dog or anything, man, he'll turn on you and try to chew you up.
Oh, right. Exactly.
You know? So I had enough sense when it was that gesture to help me. I knew she wasn't going to hurt me. She was looking for my help.
Exactly.
I think they know a lot more we give them credit for.
I think you're right. Well, I know you're right. They are so engaged and so in tune and one with nature that I don't think, honestly, we can fathom the level of wildlife intellect that they really have in how they're one with nature. It's so far beyond our thinking. We may be highly advanced as human beings at creating computers and cars and airplanes that fly and all that, but when it comes to outdoors and their survival mechanisms and everything that is capable of keeping them thriving and surviving, I think we're far from it. I think they're far more superior in that regard.
Yeah. Yeah. When the Annapolis happens to us, we won't know how to survive, but there'll be the standing creatures left.
Yeah. So when they walked off, after you gestured to the male how to help her, and you're probably talking and gesturing with your hands at the same time, and even the little one caught on to hold the mom's hands on that cable, that guardrail cable, and he jerked. Was there a popping sound, or did she scream or anything?
Oh, she screamed, but the waist went back into place. You know, between the waist and the hip there, the hip was pushed out when they yanked on it, and he looked, because when I showed him the curvature before they pulled on her, that he had to pull, he did that, and it got straightened out. And she seemed, to me, after that, of course, it was painful for the first nudge, but after that, you know, it seemed like that she didn't have the pain like she had before.
So she had a hip dislocation, is what it sounds like to me.
I had to be.
Yeah.
It was out of whack. Get hit at 55, 60 miles an hour, and that's all the damage?
That's incredible.
Like, hey, kill a cow.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely it would. That is
and you know, the
incredible.
trucks were made better then. There was a 76 Dodge dually truck, so they were a lot more metal to them, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Not like a new truck that folds, you know?
Oh, that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
A lot of impact energy.
Yeah.
That is incredible. So when he lifted her up, did he carry her like we would carry somebody, or how did he lift her?
Like you would carry your wife through the threshold. Pick her up. She had her arms around his neck, or behind his head, I should say, and they walked through the woods there, and the little one was with them.
And it just followed behind?
Yeah, it would look like there was a trail, I guess, animal trail. I don't know what you call it. There was a trail through the woods. You could tell. It was, what do you call those trails where the animals take root?
Yeah, like a well-beaten path.
Yeah, yeah. So I guess you were crossing the road, and the husband or the father and the child was ahead, and mom was behind. That's the only thing I could think of.
Wow, wouldn't that be amazing if this female was seen by someone out, and that here they are looking at this creature, and if they were close enough to see a necklace around her neck?
Yeah, that would be Rick's right there. Wouldn't that be something?
That would be...
No, you know what the crazy fucks would think? That they ate somebody.
Oh, I guess that's true. They probably would.
The way they got a bad rap the way it is, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, we've interviewed a few people that's had some really terrifying close encounters, but, you know, in going back retrospectively to that particular encounter that I'm thinking of in my head, these creatures were provoked. Right. The people, the humans, had no clue that these creatures existed, and they provoked. They got too close to a family unit, and what really brought the humans in was rock throwing and or pine cone throwing or branch throwing. Otherwise, they'd have probably not got any closer, but they were provoked by the human being throwing stuff back at them. And that's what you don't want to do. But then again, they didn't know that. They didn't know that it was a Bigfoot throwing stuff. They thought it was a human being throwing things at them. And that's what kind of led into other things. But
well, I didn't know any better. And I guess my heart was bigger than my brains, because when she stuck her hand out like to help me, automatically I went to help, because I told you at first I thought it was somebody in a monkey suit. And then when I realized it's a creature, I was committed. Yeah. And I felt bad because I'm the one who caused the damage.
Right.
So there's all kinds of different people, you know what I mean? The big bad hunters in the woods, this and that. Let me tell you something. I don't think these big bad hunters that I hear about would even go try to help one. They turn around and run.
You know, I have to agree with you. I do have to agree with you on that. It's, you know, everybody's a legend in their own mind till you get out there and you really experience the woods and you stay in the woods. And if you ever come upon one, you know, to me, it takes a lot more courage to help a creature like this.
Lance, I was scared, but I didn't show my scaredness. In other words, I contained it. And in other words, I just maintained my exposure, because, you know, these animals, they sense everything. You know what I mean? And if I just maintained that, and I don't know, I just went into mode, you know what I mean?
Well, you were so focused, like you said, you were so focused on, okay, what do I do this? How do I help her? How do I tell them? How can we do? You were so focused on what to do, you almost overrode your fright there. You were subduing it. And so that I can see where that helped, because you were still among them. You were working on her, you were touching her. Was there any odor with this family that you smelled?
You know, a sour smell, but they didn't, you know, they were not like a skunk. It was, you know, like, you know, for months and months, like a dog, you know, when you don't take care of a dog and you don't wash it, you know how it throws that odor like?
Oh, yeah, right, like a wet dog.
But not real severe. It was more like a pneumonia.
Huh. That's interesting. That's very interesting. Which may be, if it was an ammonia smell, you know, it could have been more of a urine type of smell from them. I'm not sure. Or a secretion like a glands or sweat. And,
you know, the funny thing about it, to make a joke about it now, I had to take and for no reason whatsoever, I was not going to go take a on the side there, because I didn't want them to think I was trying to establish the territory. You know what I mean? Like dogs do.
Oh, right. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. That'd have been a wrong time, I think.
Yeah, maybe, I don't know, but boy, I relieved myself when I got to the truck and they went to the woods, boy, I tell you. But, I don't know, it's a weird thing to explain. I mean, I just went into mode and to try to take care of it. I mean, focus on that. And then when I realized that they didn't mean no harm to me, I guess that it made it easier. I don't know how to explain it.
Well, she took care of you for certain, because had that male come in, he would have picked you up like a twig.
Yeah.
And
Oh, yeah, when she put her hand on my head and I watched her and she shook her head no, I really think at that moment he was going to f my life up. I wouldn't be talking to you today. I really believe that.
Yeah, they wouldn't have found you. They wouldn't have found you. I mean, who knows what he would have done, but they probably wouldn't have found you, and you sure wouldn't be here, because as strong as she is, who knows how strong he is, the males. And you say he was at least about 8 feet?
Yes, yes, yes.
How much do you think she weighed?
700-800 pounds, somewhere around there.
And you could obviously see that it was a she. She had breast and...
Yeah, she had boobs. I mean, I would say on a human, she was at least a 38C. If it was a human, you know what I mean? But, the back is so big. But the cup was a C cup for sure, and big boobs.
And the male, you say at 8 feet, he probably weighed then close to 800-900 or more?
Easy. And you want to hear? I'm going to tell you something embarrassing that I'll tell you. I feel comfortable with you. When that big son of a bitch was hanging over me watching what I was doing to the mate, his ding-dong was hitting me in the back of the head, right? And I went to push. I thought it was his arm, and he did it twice, press against me. And the second time, he slapped my hand and that was funny. And it happened to be his private spot that was hitting me in the back of the head.
So he slapped you a little bit.
Yeah, slapped me in the hand what the f*** are you doing? You know what I mean? I didn't know. I thought it was his arm. I didn't know.
Good Lord.
Because he was bending over me, towering me, watching exactly everything with the tourniquet and all that when I took the belt and the stick and put the pressure on. And the little one, when they get that moss, that's what floored me.
It knew. That's
Yeah.
incredible. That's high intelligence right there. I can tell you that's just an amazing degree of phenomenal intelligence that we just don't have the slightest clue.
No, we don't. No, it knew to pack the wound. And he gave it to me, presuming I knew exactly what I was doing. And that was the funniest thing. He brought that moss and pushed it in my hand. And then I went ahead. I said, okay, I'll pack Mama's wound. Yeah.
How did the little one look in the face compared to the mom and dad there? Did it look more like a monkey rather than the facial features of...
Half and half monkey, more toward what they look like, the face. But like I said, that when I mentioned the dog, the face of the dog, that skin. Because when I wiped her tears, they say it was leather. People say leather looking. I guess if you look at it, one of those little dogs with their face, the pug pushed in, but it wasn't leather. It was on her face. That skin wasn't tough. When I wiped the tears, and I mean, when I wiped the tears, I couldn't believe it. And she knew then I was there friendly. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you were there with your heart for sure, rather than trying to do harm to her. She knew it was an accident.
Yeah.
I think she knew.
Yeah. And what amazed me, I think I was dead meat, is when she put her hand over my head, and I saw her to shake her head no, and he listened to her. He abide. That's what got me. He abide what she asked him to do, not to do nothing. That's the way I took it.
Well, that right there shows that there is a mutual respect for one another,
Yeah.
between the two, between even the again, we know very little about social structure, let alone the relationship both the male and female have, aside from having offspring. But this shows an equal say in a matter, especially when it's high emotion. And I believe that they have emotion, and that, you know, when say it'd be no different, just like what you said earlier. If someone hurt your spouse,
Yeah.
and you see them working on your spouse, you're going to let them kind of work on your spouse. You see that they're trying to care for, and like they know what they're doing, so you're going to let them continue to care for your spouse. And so that's kind of what he was doing. He was just supervising, watching, of course, you know, with I'm sure
That I don't do no harm to her. Right.
exactly. And she was allowing it, so he wasn't going to interrupt the matter. And so he has a great deal of respect for.
Well, that amazed me. That really amazed me. Because me, as a human being, I'm a male chauvinist pig. You know what I mean? But with them, it just showed me, you know what I mean? A whole different thing, you know?
Yeah. You wonder how far, you know, it almost sounds like there's a, in some respects, almost a better mutual relationship they have as these creatures, these beings, this species that we know very little of compared to humans. Humans don't even treat each other that well sometimes.
Yeah, that's true. Now, the big one, he was like jet black, the husband or whatever you want, the mate. She had through the moonlight, it was like dark, like a dark black but blue, like a blue tint. And the little one, he had reddish tint to him, and I couldn't understand the different colors.
Well, that's definitely within the color range that's typical that most people have when they see these creatures in the daylight: red, brown, black, cinnamon color, reddish brown. And even some of the older ones, I'm guessing, would have, just like us, some gray or silver.
Right.
Interesting. And that area that you went through there, that's just a real thick, dense, wooded area on both sides of the highway, it sounds like.
I'm telling you, there was nothing on that road for freaking miles. Nothing. No gas station, no nothing.
Well,
when I out in the woods.
Well, you know, there's been sightings of these creatures close to proximity of towns, but for the most part, it kind of fits what we say is that usually they're going to be in the most remote, densest areas where there's very little people traffic, and where they want to be, in my opinion, they want to be left alone. They now, if they're hungry and they don't have to forage for food as much or hunt, and they have a couple farms where they can get some sheep or chickens or eggs or if it's in season, kind of berries or vegetables, you know, they'll do that. But for the most part, I think that they are going to be in the most remote, thickest foliage you can find.
Well, I don't know. All I know, I could tell you what happened to me. I'm not a woods guy. Hunting don't interest me none. And I got a lot of buddies here in Georgia that I call rednecks. You know what I mean? The hunters and all that.
Yeah, that's where we live in redneck country ourselves. We would be considered those rednecks as well.
Okay. And, hey, Rick, let's go hunting. Nope. And they get pissed off at me because every time, you know, they ask me to go deer hunt. No, I'm not interested. No, I'm not interested. I use the excuse. I say, you might turn on me and blow my brains out in the woods there. They'll never find me. You know, that's the excuse I use. I won't go out in the woods. I don't have to tell them what happened to me. That's something personal that happened to me. And, you know, I don't need to be teased or joked or say, oh, Rick's going crazy. He's lost his mind, you know?
Mm-hmm. No, I understand. Yeah, we fully understand. It's, you know, a lot of people can't share. It's really hard because you really can't tell family. They'll think you started taking some drugs, and then you can't tell even a professional with a psychiatrist.
You know, it never fucked me up like that mentally, the encounter, what happened. You know, believe it or not, I just took it in stride. Something happened. I don't get nightmares about it. To me, it was something beautiful that happened, because how many people have the opportunity to have an encounter in a good way?
Well, and with three of them.
Yeah.
With three of them, and you touched them. You touched them. I mean, to have contact with her and she reach out, and I mean, there's so many moments of this encounter that you have it's once in a lifetime, because I mean, she touched you.
You really think that's abnormal?
I can tell you this is one of the most interesting encounters I've ever heard. Now, we've done one last year that was a very interesting encounter, but unfortunately it was a terrifying encounter that there was contact made on a human. But it was a scary encounter. But I go back on that one, and even that one, in my mind, it was being provoked. But yet the two gentlemen didn't know they were provoking a creature. They thought it was a human being. They were ready to go on shore and for throwing rocks at them. And basically it wasn't. It stepped out from behind a tree, and it was massively pissed.
Right. Well, like you say, it's with the mentality you go with. If you go in there with the mentality you're going to kick somebody's ass, or you're Billy Badass, and you're going to do something, well, guess what? You better have enough ass to back it up. They found out they didn't have enough ass. You know what I mean? So, in a situation like that, somebody playing with you, you ask them to knock it off in a nice way. If you got the guns in your hand, what do you got to worry? You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
If somebody's throwing rocks, you think I'm going to throw rocks at somebody out in a boat there or near the shoreline, and they got guns in their hands or something like that? Hell no. Those crazy probably shoot at me. You know what I mean?
No, you're right. You're right.
I mean, common sense tells you, but and I feel that fortunate, and I used to be a badass at one time and all that. And what had happened to me in 13 is that I died 4 times and they brought me back. And it had me looked at life a whole different view all over again, other than that experience I had,
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I think about God put you on this earth. I'm not religious neither, but put you on this earth to serve, and my time wasn't ready if they brought me back 4 times, and I'm kicking right now as today, and that happened in 13. And I look at it this way, a lot of people, the religious people, say, oh, God's got something still in the works for you. Maybe so. Maybe God returned the favor when I helped the creatures. I don't know. I mean, you could slice and dice these situations 80 different ways and get 80 different answers. It's how you want to look at it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, you're right. You're right. It's no one really knows but God himself, and that's just it. With the plan in your life, and you put you at the why this happened. Could it be a happenstance? Maybe. Could it have been a pre-planned event? I mean, I don't know. It sounds odd, but had it been another person that hit this creature, would they have run off and screamed? Probably. Probably.
Left it for dead.
I think with your background, I think you just are matter of fact, and you acted on the moment, and that acting on the moment allowed you to stay in control, and you just kind of went plan A, plan B, plan C, and they saw that you were trying to help her, and they just kind of left you alone, and they were able to communicate. You were able to communicate with them. That's another first. I mean, kind of not only with her and the moon and saying kalaka kalaka and looking up, but also you're able to communicate, and they understood. You both understood what you were wanting them to do. You knew what the plan was, and they knew what the plan was. So there is some gesturing there and some verbal along with the hand gesturing that we can communicate with them. That's what it tells me. We can communicate with them even if we don't understand their language.
Well, that's if you want to.
That way,
Maybe,
exactly.
Too, there's a lot of people that, can't deal with that neither. You know what I'm saying? To see a creature and handle it that way neither, I mean, people get paranoid and maybe you get scared out of them and they do crazy things, you know what I mean? They just don't know how to handle the situation.
Yeah.
That's what I look at it, you know what I mean?
Yeah, you're right there. Life experiences, I think, is what really kind of what we're saying, is that if you have a lot of kind of hard life experiences and you've somewhat of experienced life and death more so than the average person, I think that kind of and people that's been overseas and whatnot, and people in law enforcement and some hard situations, I think that allows you to it depends, I guess every situation is different, but how you're going to respond to a situation like that, I think, is about how you were brought up and everything life experiences to that moment.
Yeah.
So
where I live, I don't know if you heard of it. I just heard the other night, I was listening to the YouTube, and I don't know which people. They were from Carrollton, Georgia, and that's south of us here. And they keep on saying that the Northwest, Georgia, is where all the Bigfoots are, or Squatch. And, I live in my town is in that area, the Northwest. I live in the Northwest of Georgia. And I've seen, I got to take that back. The dogs go crazy, but, there's a lot of deer that run through and all that. I got 12 acres here and a pond, a 2-acre pond in front of my house. And I haven't seen anything yet. My daughter, I bought her a gator to drive around on the property. And it was funny. I'm in a construction business, okay? And we go riding around. Dad go riding. She's only 12 years old, so I go riding around with her on the property. And it was getting toward dusk, and I got a bunch of containers to store stuff on the property. And we drove by that, and we heard a noise, and it wasn't a deer. This thing grunted at us. My daughter, Dad, did you hear that? I says, yeah. I said, might be a Bigfoot, joking around. Dad, my daughter got scared. She said, Dad, there's something in the woods over there. So the next day, I have 3 boys that are in their 30s, okay? My youngest daughter is 12. And I told one of the boys that there was something near the containers. We went behind the containers, which is the edge of the water, the pond, and we found a lay-down area in the grass there. It's like straw that grows up here wild, you know what I mean, if you don't maintain it. Right. And it had to be 10, 15 feet in diameter, and all that grass was laid down. But I was looking for footprints because the ground is very wet over there, like marshy. And
oh yeah,
I didn't see anything. So I'm not Bigfoot crazy neither. Just because that one incident happened, is it very possible they're in this area? And they're talking about Northwest Georgia. That's where I live. Well, I'll believe it when I see it, and then if it does come around, I will treat it the same way as I did the other one. And if there was nothing wrong and there was one there, I would show friendliness toward it and communicate. I'm not scared of those things. I'm not after the encounter I had. I'm not scared or paranoid. I would try to communicate with it.
Oh yeah.
You may think I'm crazy, but
no, I don't think you are.
Huh?
I don't think you are. I think that it's fascinating to me that when people have had one encounter, like a real close encounter,
yeah,
it seems as though that there are a lot of people that's the only time they've had an encounter, just one, but there are clusters of people that have had more than one encounter, and a close encounter at that. So it could be possible.
I don't think they get it any closer than the way I got it closer. I mean, we're hands-on.
Yeah, you were hands-on. They were trying to communicate with you. You had I think the moment that was there's a lot of moments in this encounter that is just mind-blowing to me. Not only did she reach out for your help, but you were in contact with her. She protected you from the mail coming up.
Yeah, that was amazing to me.
And and then there was a little one there that she saw your necklaces. You put two together to make it big enough to go over her head, and she pointed up at the moon or sky, and Kalatka, whatever. I mean, if she had an understanding, just like you said, of God or something.
Universe, I don't know.
I don't know. And so that's one other aspect. I mean, she was crying. You wiped the tears. She knew you were there to help.
But you know what? I would take it more toward God, because the crucifix had Jesus Christ hanging on the crucifix, okay? And she looked at it and looked at it. Me, I would think, and when she said Galacta, like that, and pointed up there, I think she identified with God, because there was the Jesus Christ hanging on a cross. I don't think it was the universe, because she kept on looking at it, and maybe because of the gold, and it was shiny in the moonlight. I don't know. But when she mentioned Galacta like that and pointed up there, to me, she knew exactly what she was looking at. That's the way I took it.
And the word again, she was saying, what does it start with a G or is it with a K, like Galaka or Kalaka?
No, the Galaka. G with a G, Galaka.
Galaka. Okay. Yeah, well, it sure sounds like it. I mean, if she was seeing the crucifix there and making that sound, it sure seems like she knew what she was talking about, and whatever.
Yeah, she was identifying. To me, she was identifying what it was. And when she pointed up to the sky, I caught her drift. And in other words, I could relate to what she was talking about, the way we were pointing and doing the sign language. I'm not a sign language guy, but, just doing the motions. We were communicating, and at that moment, I took it that she was referring to God.
Wow. What an incredible first-time encounter. I mean, that's a lot of first in doing this one here. That's incredible. What an amazing event that happened in your life that you'll never forget, for sure.
It's like that. And the way I look at it, it's been in the past, and I look at it this way because, you put that in the back of your memory banks way back, because you can't really discuss it with anybody because they'll think you're a fool or crazy. And, I look at it as it was just a good experience. And that's the way I look at it. And I can honestly look at it with no fear, no nothing. You could tell the way I'm talking to you. I guess I'm talking calm. I don't get all excited. That's many years ago, too. You know what I mean? Maybe the novelty wore off. I don't know.
Right.
But it never, I don't know. It was never where I had to go tell somebody neither. Do you know what I mean?
Right. No, I totally get it. I was just curious now. I contacted you through your son contacting us. He.
Okay. I was wondering how this came about.
Yeah.
They like to bullshit me like that. Okay, go ahead.
So that's why I wasn't quite sure if he had pre-mentioned that I was would make contact.
Oh, no, surprise.
Oh, sorry about that. Well,
But it's all right. No, that's okay.
he basically the message that I got. I have a toll-free number that people can call. We can chat, and he said you've got it. Here's how it started. He said, you got to talk to my dad. Back in 1978 in East Texas, he had an encounter. You just got to call my dad. His name is Rick.
Really?
And then he forgot to leave the number. So then he called again and said, I'm sorry, I forgot to leave the number. You just got to talk to him. And his name is Rick. And that was all that was said.
Mm. Wow.
So
See, I really don't think when I told the boys, yeah, okay, Dad, right? They think I'm pulling their leg. They don't believe me.
Well, no, I mean, obviously you got something across to one of the boys.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, which one called me, but it sounded very interesting in his voice when he said that the message that was left. And I thought, I review my messages on the hour.
Uh-huh.
And when I heard that one, I thought, I got a call here, but I'm not sure if he was, if he's ready for me. So that's why I sent the text. You said, who is this? Basically, and that's always I get that quite a bit. And sometimes people want to talk, sometimes they don't, and that's fine. But the reason why my brothers and I started doing a show is that because of the people like you that's had encounters, we can learn from them. And now a few of them are terrifying. A lot of people we know listen to the shows for pure entertainment, but I always use the 80-20 Pareto principle rule that about 20% of the people listen because they've had encounters, and they want to know that they're not crazy too, that these things are real. They've had their own unique encounter. I would say the great majority of them are not terrifying. They were just a moment. They saw something cross a road, or they stood before something that didn't growl at them or anything, and it was a good encounter. But there's about 20% that want to know.
I don't believe they're there to hurt anybody. They just want to be left alone. That's the impression I got. I don't think they want to hurt anybody. And, people make them out to be this and that. You know what I mean? That's their point of view or their version. But sometimes they neglect how they antagonize, you know what I mean? Or whatever they did, Right.
Because it's that perception of that person's version of what the circumstances, what happened. And that's the hard part when you hear, that they were, were they truly attacked? What did occur? Were they provoked?
Right.
And so, but it's an accidental provoking is what I've seen. They just didn't know what they were doing. The human, that is. I've never heard one like this. This is pretty incredible encounter. Well, Rick, I can't thank you enough, buddy. I really appreciate your time. I know you were probably getting ready to do something, but it's been a pleasure. I've not quite heard anything like this. This is one of the most incredible interviews I've done. If something else blows my socks off, I don't know what it would be. This was pretty incredible.
So you mean to interact like that? That's unusual?
Yes. For a first-time interaction, that is very unusual. Well, Rick, I will keep your number, sir, and I can't thank you enough. It's been a pleasure in speaking with you, and a pleasure in having you just retell this after so many years. I'm sure it's burned in your brain, and it'll never leave you, but what a interesting, amazing encounter and interaction you had with these Bigfoot creatures. And you had a family with you. That's what was incredible, and wow, I have no words.
I think they travel together, as a family, I guess, for hunting or whatever. I guess they all hang together very tight,
They must. They really must. They have to.
That's the impression I got, but
well, safety.
I don't know their lifestyle,
Yeah, safety in numbers and very good insight into some things too for all of us to learn, for sure. I'll let you get about your day, Rick. And thank you so much.
Thank
you so much for your time. I appreciate it, sir.
All right. You have a good one.
You too.
Bye.